Well, good evening and welcome. Welcome to the Northern Hotel. It's the 32nd annual Yellowjacket Athletics Hall of Fame and Distinction Induction Ceremony. I'm Evan O'Kelly. Teeing off the evening, it's going to be an exciting one. 6 inductees into the Hall of Fame this year. That's the most since 2008. Well, the pandemic wiped out the 2021 award ceremony, and we are going to be back in action momentarily. We'll step away, and they're going to have tonight's ceremony kick off in just a moment. Camera wet. Well, this year's class features inductees from 3 different sports: women's soccer, women's basketball, 4 sports I should say, men's basketball, as well as cross country and track and field. 3 from the women's soccer team in the early 2010s. Don Trentham, the head coach of the lone Yellowjacket women's soccer team to make it to an NCAA regional. He'll be inducted tonight, and 2 of his former star players, Jocelyn Richter and Jennifer Larson-White, will be inducted tonight as well. Robert Peterson, former All-American for the cross-country track and field team at MSUB, he'll be into the Hall of Fame as well. Kayleen Goggins, former women's basketball All-American, will be inducted tonight, and our final inductee will be Craig Karst, the men's basketball head coach, who spent 18 seasons at the helm for Yellowjacket Athletics as well. Stay tuned. We're moments away from getting the ceremony started and having the introduction of our first inductee right here on the Yellowjacket Sports Network.
stories and celebration. We'll try to keep the schedule as best as we can. So first and foremost, welcome. Welcome to the Yellowjackets Athletics Hall of Fame and Distinction. I appreciate you taking some of your time to celebrate past, former student athletes, coaches, and supporters of our programs. With that, it may sound cliche, but I'm always appreciative that we can give those metaphorical flowers to our 11 members while they can still smell. So I appreciate you all joining in on this event. You can see we had to rent out some more space as we are inducting 6 Hall of Famers as opposed to our traditional 3 to 4. So I'm anticipating a lot of great stories, and I'm personally excited because when I started as an SID, I had a chance to cover all of our student athletes that are being inducted, and so I'm anxious to kind of hear their perspective and their stories. Especially for women's soccer, and seeing how some of those will match up since we have 3 women's soccer inductees tonight. So before we get into our program, just wanted to give you all a quick update in terms of how we've done this past fall for the department. So this past fall, we've had 11 GNAC players or athletes of the week, 15 GNAC all-conference selections, 1 GNAC freshman of the year in women's soccer, and then 1 all-region selection in men's soccer. And then academically, we finished with a 3.22 grade point average, and 70% of our student athletes finished with a 3.0 or higher, and then 25 of our student athletes have a perfect 4.0 GPA this fall. So that's a round of applause. And so we're recruiting quality students, quality athletes, and most importantly, quality individuals, as you'll see when we have our student athletes speak later on tonight. But in terms of our athletic alumni, we're strong and growing. Within the active database, we have over 13 members. 335 live here in Billings, and then another 350 within the state of Montana. Then the other 600 plus are outside of the state and international. And so it's always great that you can come back and celebrate your Hall of Fame inductees, but I look at it as a chance to also, look at the future and some of our current student athletes and, try to anticipate if and when they will be inducted if their careers continue upon that trajectory. And so in terms of the power of one, one shot, one save, 1 millisecond can have a drastic impact on any particular event. And so when you compare that into just $1, right, you can have a drastic impact on a student athlete experience. So we would definitely invite you to lend your support, not only by coming to our games, but also financially as well. So you can see on your tables, we have a Q card, a QR code to the Yellowjacket Athletic Association, as well as some envelopes. And we would definitely appreciate any contributions that you would like to make for our current student athletes, as well as our future student athletes. So as we celebrate tonight, we definitely want you to enjoy, laugh, maybe share some tears of joy, just thinking back on your experience. And outside of that, I just want to thank you again, but you can find myself or Nick Schmidt. Raise your hand, Nick. There we go. And so that being said, I will turn it over to Scott Green, our MC for tonight. And Scott, here you go. Well, thank you.
Hey, this is terrific. An absolute who's who of Yellowjacket history and current Yellowjacket activity. Just fantastic. I'm not going to lie, I've been working remotely. For those who don't know, I'm a sportscaster at KTVQ here in Billings, and so I've covered all of tonight's inductees, the coaches, the athletes, Mike Bazemore when he was introduced as AD not long ago, Krista before, Gary Gray before that. But I've been working for the last 22, 23 months remotely, and again, I'm not going to lie, this is the first time in that time frame that I've actually put on a suit head to toe, and I was a little worried. I was a little concerned about the fit when I got into it, so apologies there. We'll just move along tonight and do our best. If a button pops somewhere, don't be alarmed. Please continue to eat and relish tonight's activities. I'm going to just tell you a little bit about the banquet and the Hall of Fame itself before we get to our first inductee here tonight. The selection process, individuals, coaches, athletes, former athletes, friends of the program, people who contributed in business or in the school system some way are all eligible to be nominated. But the bottom line is there have been thousands upon thousands to come through here, back to when it was Eastern Montana College. And I think tonight's inductees, 6 of them tonight, run the total to 168. So it's a very small and exclusive club of inductees. So those of you tonight, congratulations. Very, very well deserved, and you should be proud. It's also noteworthy that somebody has to be, well, have been outside the program for at least 5 years before they can be nominated for induction. So I don't want to age anybody, but you former student athletes being inducted tonight, they've all been up for at least 5 years. But very well deserved. Tonight, each of the honorees will receive one of these plaques up here. They're just outstanding. They've got the name and pictures of them in competition or while coaching and whatnot. And these will also be displayed in the MSUB Athletic Hall of Fame right there inside Alterowitz Gym at the front entrance as you come in. And I invite all of you, hopefully those of you coming to the basketball game, all of you tomorrow, but the next time you're up there for an event or otherwise, take a look at that Hall of Fame. It's pretty impressive, and these plaques will be there, along with a golden lifetime pass that's free of charge admission to any and every Yellowjacket event. So you've earned it. We hope you take advantage of it. And with that, we're going to get to our first inductee. To introduce Jennifer Larsen. Half the field, as Michael mentioned, half the field tonight are soccer players or coaches. It's come from the soccer program, so soccer bringing a strong presence tonight. Yep, you can see it over here. Don Trenham is here to introduce Jen Larsen, Coach Trenham.
All right, Scott, you do look great, so it's good to see you. It's great to be here tonight and be a part of one of my favorite events in college athletics. I've always enjoyed this event and what it's about. Thank you to Athletic Director Michael Bazemore for putting this on, Nick Schmidt, and all the staff that have worked hard behind the scenes. Holly West, I know you did a lot, so thank you for putting this event together. Congrats to all the inductees tonight on your well-deserved honor. All of you played a huge part in history and success of MSUB sports. Jaucelyn, I'm especially proud of you. You're one of the best attacking players I've ever had the opportunity to coach. And most importantly, thank you for serving our country. You're big time. Jen, it's so awesome to be up here and introducing you. From the first time I saw you play and got to know you, I knew you were special. And it's no surprise that you're getting inducted into the Yellowjacket Hall of Fame tonight. You exemplify everything that MSUB soccer was about. You're the person, the student, the athlete, hard work, dedicated, disciplined, passion, great teammate. You had it all. You're one of the most genuine and kind-hearted people that I've been around. And it's just, it's no surprise that you're going to be up here tonight. You came to MSUB when we were at a pivotal time in the program. A lot of players had put a lot of work into getting it to where it was, and it was time to take that next step. And you coming in here, you helped us take that program to the next level. Your competitiveness and your winning mentality is second to none, and have done this for 20 plus years, and you're one of the best I've been around. Fitness, unbelievable. Ability in the air, unmatched. your versatility. I would use Jen as a forward, an outside mid, center back, and she excelled at them all. And even your leadership was exceptional. It's no surprise you became a 2-year captain in this program. And then just your willingness to grind. You know, I was looking at stats. I didn't realize that you had the most minutes played as an MSUB player, and without a doubt, you grinded. A few memories about Jen that I'll share quickly. I remember your first game ever. We were playing down at Dixie State. It was probably 105 degrees. We were on turf. We were playing Cal State San Bernardino. And she was playing outside mid in that game. And she asked to come out. I don't know if you remember that, but you asked me.
I think this is the memory you were going to
okay. She asked, but I knew that she was special and that she could push through it. And it wasn't that she found a way to push through that. And as you know, with the minutes that she played in this career, she pushed through her entire career here. After that game, the next game or second game as a player here at MSU Billings as a freshman, she scored 2 goals against Dixie State and helped us win that game 3-2. Other big goals that she scored, fast forwarding to 2010, the year we went to the NCAA tournament, she played a huge role in getting us there as Colorado School of Mines were down there in an important game, losing, scored a big goal for us in the 85th minute to tie that game, and we end up getting a tie out of that game, and that's a big reason we went to the tournament that year. You don't score that goal, we probably don't go to the tournament. Another memory of mine was Central Washington, your sophomore year, when you were playing defense. We moved you to offense, you scored a goal in the second half, we moved you back to defense. After Jaucelyn actually hit the post, and then we scored a second goal. Hey, you set up the assist there, and we win that game 2-1. No doubt what we did in 2010, you were a big part of that. I'm so proud of you, Jen, not only for what you did at MSUB, but to see you become a successful high school teacher, a successful coach, and giving back to the game and mentoring students, and beautiful marriage to Evan there, and just loving and living life to its fullest. It's my honor to induct Jen Larson-White as the 7th MSUB soccer player into the Yellowjacket Hall of Fame. Congrats and well deserved.
First one, you never know what's going on. So, hi everyone. The story that I thought he was going to tell was our scrimmage game was against University of Montana in Missoula, and the first touch I got on the ball, I just got wrecked. Like, I mean, those girls were huge. I'm a tiny little 100-pound freshman. That's what I thought you were going to talk about, but I don't remember the Dixie State thing. But I'm Jen White. Formerly Jen Larson when I played here. And I'm really grateful to be here accepting a place in the Hall of Fame. I know there are plenty of deserving athletes that were potentially missed for this honor throughout the years, and I feel grateful to be nominated. None of this would have been possible without my amazing coaches, Dawn being one of them, teammates. A lot of them are in the audience right now, Kristen, Janae, Court, Joss, Allie Strout was one of my coaches. So without them, and then other staff that have been working for the program, which a lot of them are in attendance today as well. But I'm gonna start off with Dawn, who recruited me to come play in Montana when I had never lived anywhere but Arizona. I still have no idea how he got me to come to Montana. I think it's because the visit that we scheduled was during the spring. So it was like really pretty, flowers were blooming, didn't even think about the snow. And then he also got my former teammate in Arizona, Kristen, who's here from Arizona, to also come up. And we got here and had like no winter clothes, had like no idea what was going on. The first winter was like the worst thing on the planet, but we were already here, so we just kind of embraced it. So I know Don's getting introduced and everything later, but I just want to say a few things about him because he was really pivotal in getting me to come here. So he was one of my favorite coaches for a few reasons. One, he didn't let you get away with anything, and he always taught you a lesson whenever possible. So I remember my freshman year, and there's 4 other girls who I graduated with who know about this story. And we were all living in the dorms, and we were the ones responsible for washing and bringing the jerseys to practice. So the first or second day of preseason, somehow someone like walked over it in their dorm room and didn't bring it. I'm just gonna say it was Andrea, but I don't remember. So we get to the field, we're all carpooling together, we get to the field and we're like, oh my gosh, we don't have any of the pennies to train and Don's gonna kill us. And so like 2 of us, I think, it wasn't me, but 2 people went back to go to the dorm, which was like a 25-minute drive. So of course they were late for practice, right, because we had to go back. So while they were getting the jerseys, all the freshmen who stayed had to run laps and run fitness while the other 2 went back. And he told us if all of us would have went back, we would never have had to run, but I don't believe that. I don't know. But do you think we ever forgot the jerseys again? Yes, we did, because we were freshmen. Definitely. Yes, we did. And then do you think we ever had to run again? Yeah, because it was Don, so we had to run every single time. We forgot pennies, balls, played music with curse words in and out on accident over the loudspeaker. Always had, he's always teaching us a lesson. And one time he made the captains run, and we all had to sit there and watch them run, which was probably the worst punishment of all, because now the captains are pissed at us for forgetting it. So anyway, he always was looking for ways to teach us a lesson. But he was a tough coach and expected a lot out of his players. He wanted us to be the best players and the best team, and I'm very thankful for that. Number 2, he always put emotion into everything that he did. When he was mad, you knew it. We were just talking, all of us, about some of the main things. I'm not going to mention them over here, but we were talking about them. But one time I remember we were losing 3-0 to Western Washington. We went to the locker room and it's like dead quiet, and he just comes up and just slams the locker so hard, and everyone just freaked out. We were just like terrified of what he was going to say. But we knew he was pissed. Like, he didn't really even have to say anything. So we knew. He also would take off his hat during games and throw it down. Like, you knew when he was mad, but you also knew when he was in a good mood, because once you got him going, he was one of the funniest coaches, people around, and like, he would have you in tears laughing. I don't have this in here, but do you guys remember when Jen Brookshire fell over that that pole? And it's, anyway, okay. Okay, and then number 3, he really cared about his players. We'd always have meetings with him, sometimes 5 minutes. A lot of the time, the 5-minute meetings would turn into like an hour, because if you just needed to vent or talk about stuff, he would sit there and listen to you. And you really could feel that he cared about you. People who had to go after you didn't appreciate it so much, because it was supposed to be 5 minutes and it turned into like an hour or 2, but we got over it. But he would listen to you and talk to you about whatever. And then the last thing is he got results. So everyone is probably going to be in this speech later, but he's the winningest coach for girls soccer at MSUB in his 9-year run. And his last 2 years he was with me, so we had in his 8th and 9th year. And he took us to the NCAA tournament our sophomore year in 2010 for the first time ever in school history. So he must have been doing something right. So thank you, Don, for putting in so much work to the program and changing a lot of players' lives. Throughout my years at MSUB, we accomplished many things that our program hadn't seen yet. So like I just said, my sophomore year in 2010, we had a 13-5-1 record and had beat a lot of good teams that year, putting us in a position to go to the NCAA D2 tournament, something we had never done before. So I remember sitting in the conference room with everybody and the coaching staff as they slowly announced who made it to the NCAA tournament, who their opponent was going to be. And as I sat there, we just we all thought about our hard work that we had put in, all the practices we had to run. We're just sitting there like, did we do something right here? We sat in silence as they got to our side of the bracket, and when they announced our team, the feeling in that room was one of my favorite moments in college soccer. Everybody was screaming, everyone was cheering, some people were crying. I think Don must have already known that we were in it, because I don't remember him getting like super pumped about it. Like, I think he already knew and didn't tell us, or he just hit it. I have no idea. I just remember like he was just like, yep, we made it. And we're all like screaming and so excited. So he either knew or just expected that we were going to get in. I don't know. But it was a huge moment for MSUB soccer and for everybody that was playing on the team. So then we went and we had to go play Cal State LA, which like we were going to be the severe underdogs. I think we barely made it in. So they were going to be the top seed. They probably should have beat us. Probably the most stressful game of all of our lives. The last like 10 minutes was played like in our 18-yard box. Like, I swear they hit the post like 3 times. Like, I don't know how we won the game, but we did. So we walked off that field with the 1-0 victory, being the complete underdogs, and then got to move on to the second round. So that's something that still hasn't been done. Hopefully it gets done in the future with the current team. But then unfortunately we lost to our arch nemesis, Seattle Pacific, after that game. But still making it to the NCAA tournament and being in the second round is something that I'll never forget. And then the next season in 2011, we didn't make the tournament. We had a good season, but we did something else that no other team had done. We beat Seattle Pacific, Seattle Pacific at their home turf, and that was like the most amazing feeling as well. And I think my dad and I were looking at stats earlier, and we're the only team, I think, that beat SPU, right? Seattle Pacific? We beat them like 3 times. Oh, never mind. That was the wrong stat. Okay, that's fine. But it was something that the upperclassmen, beating SPU was something the upperclassmen always talked about. Like, we have to get fired up for this game. We have to do it. It's never been done. And then finally doing it was something that like just made us feel so good about our team. So other than a few games here and there and going to the NCAA tournament, I don't really remember specific games or specific goals that were scored. Like some of the stuff Don was bringing up, I'm like, I kind of remember it, but not really. But I do remember all the laughters we had, the memories we made on and off the field, all the teammates and the friendships and the little things that kind of happened. And I wouldn't be in the position I am now without the teammates and the friendships that we created throughout the years. Although we don't keep in touch as much as we used to, when we do talk, it's like nothing has changed. My older roommate Kristen is here to support both Jaucelyn and I and Dawn. And then Janae is here as well. She lives in Billings, and they came to support us, which means so much. There's a ton of alumni sitting at a table back there that came to support us as well. So I'm just thankful for all you guys, for the support and everything from you guys. So by senior year, there was only 6 freshmen, or 6 of us from our class left that were initially recruited. We started with 9, ended up with 6. And I'd like to think of us as one of the best classes, but I'm probably a little biased. Sorry, alumni. But to help prove my point, though, Jocelyn's also here getting inducted in the Hall of Fame, and we graduated in the same class, so I know our class was special. She's one of the top point scorers in the history of the program, and she also won numerous awards as well. The 5 girls, 4 of them that are here, are super special to me, and I know we don't keep in touch every week or month, but we've been to each other's weddings, we go and visit each other, like we still keep in touch every once in a while, which means a lot. So we did have our disagreements throughout the 4 years, obviously, but we always wanted what was best for the team, and that was to win games and get to the tournament and just compete. So my junior and senior year, Jocelyn and I were captains, and we had to spend a lot of time together in meetings with the coaches. Somehow we always got put in the same hotel room, like they just thought that captains should be together, so we were together like nonstop. And then we were obviously together at all practices and the games. But we made a good team because Joss was more vocal than I was, and I was more of like a quiet leader. And then she also played up top. She was the goal scorer up there, and then I was more in the back, preventing goals from being scored, so we kind of saw the field from 2 different perspectives. But together we were able to lead our team to a lot of victories, and we had a lot of fun along the way, and it only makes sense that we're being inducted together along with our coach, Don. Okay. Almost done. So, I'm not really good about talking about myself, which is why I kind of chosen to talk about the teammates and my coaches and everything, but I know that I was inducted into the Hall of Fame for the successes that I had at MSUB. So I scored 19 goals and had 6 assists playing defender most of my years, and it doesn't seem like it's a lot of goals, right, Allie? You know about the goal scoring back there. But my position wasn't in front of goal a lot, so I didn't have a whole lot of opportunity to. But I do have the record for the most minutes played, and during my time at center back there, our defense and the keepers only allowed in .83 goals per game, which is less than 1. And that's, I don't know where that falls on the record list. My dad could probably tell you, but I don't know. And I did win a bunch of awards, as Jocelyn did, throughout my 4 years. The most important being an academic All-American, only given to a few players in D2 soccer. 2 other MSUB soccer players hold this honor. Who got it? Amanda Hemming got one a few years ago, and then someone, Megan Play? Someone a long time ago too. So there's not that many MSUB soccer players that get it. But and then one of the hardest things came for me in my senior year when we started the season 9-0. Like we were like on our roll for like a perfect season. I mean, it was like going great. We got to go to Arizona that year, which is where my family was. We got to play at GCU. It was awesome. And then I got injured. I had a little stress fracture in my leg, and I couldn't really play a lot the rest of the season in the practices. And it was really hard for me because I knew we could have had a really good team that year, and I just couldn't really give my full effort. So that was hard watching, not being able to practice, not being able to play at my best level in my senior year. But we had a really, really good team that year with a lot of good, like Joss, Cord, Janae, Kristen, it was all there to help pull us through to a good senior season. So to wrap it up, I could not have done this without my 5 other classmates, my teammates, my coaches throughout the year, and all other staff members that helped. I also couldn't have done it without my parents, who came to a lot of games in the 4 years I was there, especially my dad. I think he came to at least half of my games each year, and he flew in from Arizona. Thank God for Allegiant, because so he was there a lot. He's still heavily involved in watching my soccer games. He keeps up with the MSUB team. He'll send me stats and stuff. He's really involved still. Even though I'm not a player, I'm a coach, he still tries to come out to a lot of the high school games that I coach at and be involved in it. He'll tell me what the stats are and everything, so he's kind of my stat guy. And they both still support me in anything that I do. So at the end of my senior year, I decided to move back to Arizona. I played semi-pro soccer for a couple of years in the summer. I just couldn't give up competitive soccer that easily, especially with my senior year not being what I wanted it to be. So once my competitive career was coming to a close, I decided to get into coaching, which I still do today. I currently live in Phoenix, Arizona with my husband, Evan, and our 2 dogs, Moose and Jack. Had to give him a little shout out. We got married in November of 2020 amidst the pandemic and recently celebrated 1 year of marriage. I currently work as a health and PE teacher at a high school by our house and have been coaching varsity soccer for 6 years. I always want to be involved in soccer, whether it's coaching or playing. My husband Evan puts up with a lot between me playing, coaching, and watching soccer on TV. He understands how much it means to me. And I actually had been to Montana a decent amount since I graduated and watched a lot of MSUB games. And it's exciting to see where the program is going and all the new players coming through. I was just here in September, and my brother Janae lives here, and her and I went and we got to meet the team. We got to give them a little pump-up speech before their game, which they won, so we must have said something right, and got to see what amazing girls and where the program is going throughout the years. So we are expecting our first baby this July, and things are about to get crazy. So although I can't play for a while, I'll still find ways to stay involved with coaching soccer, watching soccer, going to some games, even though I can't actually play. And Evan's gonna have to deal with me being a little crabby because I can't get my anger out on the soccer field. So I'm so grateful to be inducted into the Hall of Fame tonight, and it means so much more. And my former coach and teammate are also there with me. They both deserve it for their contributions to the program. So I hope I didn't ramble on too much, but I'm very passionate about our former team when we played, MSUB in general, and the people I met along the way. I don't think I would have ever chosen Montana without soccer, and I'm so happy that it worked out the way it did. Thank you.
So she'll grab that plaque, and these guys will take a snapshot together. You guys want to go over next to the backdrop? Next to the backdrop, right over there? You want them up here? Just sit tight. I'll do some homework and figure out where we should go next. All right, congratulations, Jen, absolutely. Just a great snapshot, some of her stories, and you'll hear others tonight, but of the testimonials of the friendships and the times that just live in your mind forever that sports produce. And all of you in here know what I'm talking about tonight, whether you're brothers or sisters or former teammates or coaches or parents. So congratulations again, Jen. Yeah, one round of applause. Our next inductee tonight, we're still on the soccer pitch, Billings girl. I feel like I've watched her from youth soccer, which I haven't, but right up through high school when I did start watching and covering her, and then on the college field as well. Jocelyn Richter. You think about soccer in Billings, girls, women's soccer, she's a name that certainly comes to mind. Introducing Jocelyn is a former teammate, Courtney Unruh. Come on up.
Hi everybody, my name's Courtney Unruh, so I played with Joss for a long time. I did not write a bunch of thank yous. I kind of left that up to Joss because I know that she has a long list of people that she's thanking, and pretty much everybody that she's thanking has in some way played a role in my soccer career too. So thank you to everybody who put this on, everybody who's here. It's an awesome event. This is my first time ever being to this and I'm very impressed. So like I said, Joss and I are both Billings girls. Again, my name's Courtney Unruh. Joss and I played together from seasons of 2009 to 2012. And again, Jen's here. We've got a couple other teammates here, but Joss's and my journey began long, long before that. Joss and I met when we were 8 years old, playing on like a city league team here in Billings. We have pretty much been a package deal ever since then. You can ask my husband, he would probably agree with that. So when Joss committed to MSUB our junior year of high school, I think everybody was kind of like, well, Courtney's definitely going to be next. And I think we can assume she's probably going to go to MSUB. So I was not far behind her in my commitment to MSUB. Now, any of you who know Jaucelyn, any of you from Billings who've watched her play, played against her, played with her, you kind of know that Joss was a next level soccer player. She was very, very good soccer player. When I think back about like when she committed to MSUB, I had to think about like the celebration that must have happened, that Dawn must have had this big celebration back in that corner office behind that door that we were all scared the crap out of us. Because Joss really was, I just say that because she really, I mean, if you know Joss, you know that she could have gone big. She could have gone D1, you know, watching her on TV play, that kind of thing. And so the fact that she did choose to go to MSUB, to stay in her hometown, you know, play for hometown college just says a lot about who she is as a person. I could stand up here and talk about all her statistics, but the program you can read through that gives a little glimpse of that. But I kind of want to talk more to Joss's character because I think that's kind of what made her the Hall of Fame player that she is. Joss is one of, if not the most humble person that I know. She hates things like this. So if you guys could go up to her and just praise her for being in the Hall of Fame and how good of a player she was, she would just love that. So she hates recognition, she hates praise, and she truly does. Not one of those people that's like, oh, let me hear what you have to say about me. Like, she really does not like, she's very humble, she doesn't like to be praised, she doesn't like recognition. She's always just kind of put her head down. She's done what's best for her team and those around her, whatever that may be. She's also incredibly hardworking and motivated. No matter what she's doing, she's always giving it like 110% more than probably anyone else around her. And as I was writing this speech, I was kind of trying to figure out what stories I wanted to tell. It makes it a little more difficult that Dawn and Jen are being inducted, so I had to make sure I didn't embarrass anyone or tell stories that I shouldn't tell. But the one story that I thought was came to my mind as far as displaying her hard work. One morning, we're doing morning sprints at 5 a.m. or 5:30. Winter, so it's off season. We walk over to the gym, we get running, we do all of our sprints. Everybody's dying, and before we know, we think we're done, we're high-fiving, and then if you've played for Don, this walk where he's kind of just And then we all kind of realized we're not actually done running sprints. And so then he starts talking about how, you know, we played our game, but now the game is tied and we're going into overtime. And so we're gonna run some overtime sprints. And it was probably like 2,500 yard sprints or something like that. But then there's a little catch-22 along with it. It's every sprint we run, the last 3 girls that finish last are out. So if you run hard, you get to stay in. So then we're all going through in our mind like, oh, this is like a spiritual battle in my mind of like, do I just like sandbag it and then I get to be actually done with sprints, or do I have something to prove? Like, okay. So obviously Joss makes it to like the final 2. Honestly, if I remember right, I think it was Joss and Jen. They were like the last 2 running. And so like they line up on the line and like I just look at Joss and the look in her eye, I'm like, yeah, I know this look. Like, she will literally die before she loses to Jen. so they run, like it's a down and back of the basketball court or something. So they run down. As they hit the line and turn around, it's like one of those like St. Bernard commercials that you see on TV. Like, she turns around and there's like a gauntlet of 22 players cheering them on, and like, she's drooling, I'm pretty sure. Like, she's lost all control of the muscles in her face, and she's just like, everything in her entire being is like giving it all to this one sprint. And that's kind of just Jocelyn in a nutshell. Like, if it was practice, if it was, you know, school, whatever she was doing, she was giving 110%. So that's my one story. I won't tell any more stories. So like I said, I could list 1,000 more traits about Joss, but the last one I want to touch on is her natural ability to lead. Joss never led by intimidation, bullying. She was never the one to criticize her teammates or cut them down. She helped mold her teammates into the best versions of themselves through encouragement and motivation. There was a couple times when we were running fitness tests when she physically was like pushing girls to make them run faster so they could pass and play. So always positive support. You fast forward 10 years to where we are now, and Joss continues to display these leadership qualities as she serves as a captain in the Army National Guard. So try not to get emotional. As I said, I could talk about stories about Joss and Jen, and all of us tell so many good stories, but to wrap it up, I just want to say congratulations to Joss, to Jen, to Dawn, very well-deserving people. And as Mike always said back in the day, it's my pleasure and honor to introduce Jocelyn Richter. All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here, and it truly is humbling. I don't like to be up here and speak a whole bunch, but I'm really humbled to be here, and it's an honor, really, to be standing here. 24 years ago, the twins that lived down the street from us asked me to join a YSA soccer team. And my parents, having never played soccer or even really been exposed to it, signed me up right away. My dad, Ryan, immediately went out and bought soccer cleats and probably a rule book or something, and he learned all the rules and regulations to end up coaching me along the way. And I owe him for my left foot because he forced me to use my left foot along with that precious right foot that we all want to use all the time. And I'm so thankful for it today because it really did make me a more dynamic player, so thank you, Dad, for that. My mom, Tiffany, she stood in the goal and was pounded by soccer balls from my brother and I, literally for the 10 years of our lives in the backyard, and that's an impressive feat when you have 2 kids coming at you all the time. But she really was dedicated to my brother and I really owe her a lot for my career. And I like to tease her that she still probably doesn't know the rules of offsides, but it's okay. But but it's really hard to put into words like how much I appreciate my parents and the dedication that they gave me. And really, our evenings were given to soccer. Our weekends were given to soccer. Our family vacations were based around soccer. So really, I can't thank them enough. So you are the best parents I could ask for. Soccer was friendship and family to me. The people my family and I met along the way become lifelong friends. Between YSA, Magic City Soccer here in Billings, and Billings Senior High, I have like the Gerbasi family, the Harveys, the Emmets, the Andres. There's so many families in Billings that come to mind. I wish I could list them all. When Courtney Unruh, formerly Harvey, and I met in the 3rd grade, we really never looked back, and she touched on that. The Harvey family really carted me around to soccer games, tournaments. We did the same for her, and it really just shows that soccer is so much more than a sport. It brings us all together into this amazing community, and I couldn't be more thankful for that. Soccer was always a natural comfort to me. It was, whether I was training or I was playing a game or whatever, nothing else really mattered in those moments. It was long days, early mornings, missed classes, injuries, missed family functions, pretty much you name it, and soccer took it over in some way. But I'm so thankful for the sport because it gave me teamwork, resiliency, it taught me discipline, thank you, John, and perseverance. Playing soccer at MSUB was a total no-brainer. I received a great education, and I got to give back to the city that gave so much to me as I was growing up, and I couldn't be more thankful. Winning games, being nationally ranked, making it to the NCAA tournament, all those things were huge highlights in my career. But really, it was the friendships, the activities, the volunteers, the practices, endless Jimmy Johns on road trips, the morning sprints that we talked about that were so torturous, because John always said, we may not be like the most talented or the best team, but we will be the most fit, we'll outrun everyone else. And we did, always, that was true. But those were the moments that I'll cherish for the rest of my life, and they're the moments that I'll hold on to when I really miss being a part of such an amazing community. But I wouldn't be standing here today without the coaches that shaped me into the player that I became. So it's kind of a long list, but I'm going to name those people because it's very important to me. Dennis Keene, Tom Harvey, Ryan Richter, Alan Tucker, Richard Duffy, nemesis, but that's okay, Rocky, Kevin Luce, Jared Dickerson, Megan Parrish, Crystal Schubert, Alex Balog, Ali Strout, Eric Lona, Carrie Foreman, Wojtek Krakowiak, Don Trentham, of course, and Kevin Patrice. So that's a really impressive lineup of names, and I'm so lucky that I got to experience their passion for soccer. I have a few extra words of gratitude to give to Kevin Patrice, so he couldn't be here tonight. But Kevin is one of the biggest factors of me continuing to play soccer. Kevin saw my potential as an offensive player and moved me from an outside defensive player up into a forward position. So he was the coach that saw me as a true soccer player, not just a cross-country and track runner that played soccer for fun on the side. And I know I was only 12 years old, and it might not seem like it's a big deal, but it was huge for me because that season of soccer was pretty much pivotal to my career and transformed me into a competitive player. So with Kevin's help, and of course the rest of the coaches, Don, the potential to play at the level beyond club and high school became possible. So even though he couldn't be here tonight, I would like to really give Kevin Patrice a huge thanks. So I'd like to thank all the women whom I played throughout the years, particularly all the MSUB girls, and specifically Adrian Bigelow, Courtney Harvey, or Unruh, Kristen Poole, Janae Welch, and Jen White, whom obviously was honored here tonight, my co-captain over there. But these women became amazing friends, and I couldn't ask for a better class to grow with through our young adulthood. I'd also like to thank, I have a lot of thanking to do, so I apologize, but I'd like to thank Tom, Kathy, and Alex Harvey for many years of support. I'd like to thank my brother for endless days of soccer in the yard and being my best friend today. He would love to be here tonight, but he's serving overseas on a deployment in the Middle East, so he would have loved this. But I'd like to thank Kendra Ravenberg for being the best friend and team manager a girl could ask for. I'd like to thank my boyfriend Adam for all of his support and getting the old bones onto the soccer field for pickup games still to this day. I'm a little washed up, but still like to get out there a little bit. I'd like to thank my grandma Ann, my uncle Jade, and my cousin Ashley for coming tonight and also just supporting me through all the years. You were at all the games, always. I'd like to thank my late grandpa Rudy. Have to mention him because he took me to all my soccer games, and he was one of my #1 fans. So he was always there, always at Seattle Pacific with that MSUB scarf on and his cowboy hat. So can't forget that. But I'd also like, again, to thank Courtney Unruh for not only introducing me tonight, but for being my rock for the past 22 years. And again, I'd like to thank my parents for the infinite support they provided me, not only through soccer, but my whole life and in the future. Finally, I'll try to wrap this up, sorry. But finally, I'd like to thank the former and present MSUB athletic staff. So we have, and I'm so sorry if I missed somebody, but Dr. Gary Gray, Krista Montague, Mike Bazemore, Patrick Hughes, Marissa Glenn, Carrie Hoover, Dr. Elliott, Holly West, Evan O'Kelly, Nick Schmidt, and anyone else that I missed. I mean, there are so many big names there, and you guys have done an amazing job tonight putting this together, and you guys were amazing supporting us through our careers, so I really appreciate it. This is remarkable. But it really is an absolute honor to be standing here amongst the other talented inductees. It's crazy just to be here, but I'm blessed with a fortunate life, and I'm thankful for MSUB. And I wasn't sure exactly like what quality MSUB soccer motto I wanted to end this with. So we have like outlast, victory, eyes on the prize. So I'm gonna go with the classic, go Yellowjackets. Thank you guys.
Oh, do I not? Okay, perfect. All right.
Were those two vicious on the soccer field, Jen and Jaucelyn? Again, congratulations to both. Getting it started tonight on the soccer pitch, well done. And Jaucelyn, thank you for your service. Again, round of applause. I know we do have some present Hall of Famers in here tonight as well. I don't know how many, but a handful of you. Would you stand up, please, just so we can acknowledge you? Yeah, Krista and Alicia, please, and whoever else is in here. That Heather, yeah. Doc Elliott in the back. Yes, thank you. Congratulations to all of you. We're still on the soccer field, and Don Trenham's up next, and this guy, what a coach, you know. He's kind of on a tour right now from the Pac-12 to the Big 12 to the SEC. You pick where you want him, but he's all over the map, and that's pretty prestigious. I'm a little concerned to give him the mic because I'm afraid he's going to have us run some laps. So we'll trim him to 90 seconds up here, and if he wants to use it, have us run laps, then so be it, but at least we're off the hook after 90. To introduce Don Trenham, his former athletic director, and the man who retired today, I understand, Dr. Gary Gray.
Wow, good evening. Welcome to the MSUB soccer banquet. Wow. Anyway, good evening, everybody. This is my 18th one of these to attend, and 17 I emceed, so it's wonderful to sit over there and now do this role to introduce Don. So good evening and welcome. Thank you for being here tonight to honor these special people. This is an amazing venue, and I'm sure they all appreciate it, former Yellowjackets. I was here for 18 years as AD, then 6 years at Alaska Fairbanks, and now 4 years at East Stroudsburg University of Pennsylvania. And anytime I go to all 3 Division II schools, I found it very, very important to, as quickly as possible, learn a sense of the history of the school. I was taught that when I worked with Mike Harkins and Glenn Iverson and Bob Lee and everything. In '84, I was at MSUB twice, but first time was not AD. But learning this sense of history, and tonight we're making history. These inductees will obviously remember this for the rest of their lives, and it's just another making memory moment of sport. The men's and women's soccer programs were both added at MSUB after men's volleyball, which I coached, was dropped. And in 1986, following an 11-year run for men's volleyball. But Dr. Sexton and I realized that men's and women's soccer were on the horizon. Not many schools had it. And we wanted to be a leader in Division II in soccer. So we added men's and women's soccer. And although Don was not the first soccer coach hired, I did have the pleasure of hiring him as MSUB women's soccer coach straight out of graduate school in 2002. 27 years old, but when we talked to Don, we knew there was something special there. And there aren't many 27-year-old head coaches. And ironically, I guess, Don had just graduated, got a master's degree, was a graduate assistant at East Stroudsburg University, which is where I am now, and it's kind of spooky. He came to MSUB from East Stroudsburg, and as I said, we felt he was ready to lead the program into the next step. And speaking of retirement, I did retire today, and I was talking to my wife before. I don't know if I retired at 5 o'clock Eastern time, because I'm still doing emails at my table, so I think it's midnight tonight. I'm not sure, but finally able to retire. Anyway, Don this is interesting, we've talked a lot about Don tonight. He's being kind of inducted 3 times, I think, from the student athletes and me, but Don was hired as a .5. We were growing the program. We added 10 sports over the years, but at that time, Don was hired at a halftime women's soccer coach for the whopping salary of $16,000, half of $32,000, which was our base at that time for most of the head coaches. And I think, Don and I talked about this, and I think he stayed at that same FTE and same salary for at least 2 years. He thinks 2, I think more. But he was half-time. So, however, instead of working half-time, because we didn't know what half-time of a head coach's week was, half-time of what, 50% of what, Don easily worked 60 to 70 hours per week, and I know more at times. Don used the word grind a while ago. Don's a grinder, still is. He went here from Wyoming to Colorado to Missouri, and now associate head coach at Kansas State. And he works and works and works and works. He's smart. He works smart. He gets results. And you heard some young women this evening tell you a little bit about that. However, not to worry. Don also had an assistant coach to help him, because we knew that as a halftime head coach, that was asking a lot. So Don's first assistant was his wonderful wife, Jen, who we paid the whopping salary of $1,500. And I mean, we look back at that and we just say, how on earth, could that happen? But that's where the evolution of the sport was at the time. So over the 9 years Don was MSUB's head coach, he always had a part-time assistant. Never had a full-time assistant. And that salary of $1,500 eventually reached, I think, $16,000. Don thinks 21, but again, I'm thinking lower. I think maybe we got it up to 16, somewhere in between 16 and 21, but it was still part-time. So Don began his work at MSUB on July 1, which is when we typically started most of our new coaches at that time to align with the beginning of our new fiscal year. And he had 13 student athletes his first year. Obviously, with that timing, he had a little time to recruit over that first summer, but within a few years, Don had upwards of 27 on his roster and really built a strong, deep roster to compete in the GNAC and the Heartland. And right? Yeah, you were the Heartland. Oh, yeah, I got a Heartland story in a minute. I forgot that. Don's first office was down in the academic hallway in the PE building adjacent to Ernie Randolphi before either of our 2 major building renovations took place, the first of which was renovating the 2 old handball courts to make 2 levels of offices, and then the second of which was to renovate the storage area under the south bleachers and the gymnastics training area. So all of a sudden we had space available, and Don moved into that lower office. MSUB added soccer fairly early on in the sports NCAA evolution, so games were not as easy to come by those first few years as they are now. There weren't many teams in this area. I remember in our first year, we played the minimum number of games, 10. And to do that, we had to play over in South Dakota on a day when it was snowing sideways, but we were determined to get our 10th game in, and we did. And I wasn't there, but I'm told it was pretty brutal. In Don's first year, we played, he was able then to add a few games. We were able to play 16 games, and in his second year, 17 games. And at that time, the maximum number was 20 instead of today's 18. So he built the schedule, he built the roster, he built everything, he built. 9 years after beginning at MSUB, Don led the team to the second round of the NCAA tournament, as we've heard tonight, in the very, very tough West region, beating Cal State LA, which was fantastic, in the NCAA tournament in Seattle on November 11, 2010. I was there and I remember it well. It was quite a feat to be the underdog, so to speak, and beat. Cal State LA was just really cocky. I know they were taking us for granted. They were kind of giggling at us and stuff, and then we just kicked their butts. So that's the way it goes. Speaking of Seattle, I remember each of our battles with Seattle Pacific, arguably Don's favorite opponent. And I think the reason we started having a campus police officer at every athletic event after that was some of Don's conversations with Chuck. Was it Chuck? Chuck, yeah. So Don just battles. Don was named Conference Coach of the Year in 2010, well-deserved. He accumulated more wins, as you've heard already tonight, than any other MSUB women's soccer coach at 85. And tonight, he's the first soccer coach, men's or women's, to be inducted into the MSUB Hall of Fame of Distinction. There's much more to read about Don's accomplishment in tonight's program, but I want to mention a few things not in the program. MSUB would not have had the beautiful artificial turf field it has today if it were not for Coach Trentham. He is responsible. I remember Don coming into my office, and Don was never afraid to ask for things or communicate. And I remember Don coming into my office just like it was yesterday and asking if it would be okay for him to raise $1 million to build an artificial turf soccer field, the largest piece of artificial turf in the state of Montana. He didn't ask for someone else to do it for him. He asked if it would be okay for him to get it done. To make a long story short, he was the driving force behind the steering committee and the entire fundraising effort to get the job done. I remember that first steering committee. I think there were like 13 people. We met downtown in the conference room at the downtown campus, and we went around the table, and that steering committee pledged personally $135,000. So it was a nice start toward the $1 million, and then that steering committee helped more and more and more. But it would never have happened without Don. In many ways, Don is a great example of what, as an athletic director, I would call an ideal coach. He always worked tirelessly for his student athletes and his sport, and I'm sure he still does at K-State. He set high expectations for his students individually and his team collectively, and he expected those expectations to be met. He was demanding but fair. I like that. Demanding but fair and reasonable with his student athletes. He constantly lobbied for his student athletes, and as a director of athletics, I would expect nothing less of a great coach. I'm in a program now with 22 sports, 17 head coaches, almost 700 student athletes, and the best of those coaches ask. They lobby for their student athletes. In fact, Don is an excellent example of a great coach who was able to implement our former Chancellor, Dr. Ronald Sexton's advice of, and I use this to this day, of being able to articulate the following. What do you need? Why do you need it? Justification. And how are we going to pay for it? So Don, what's that plan to raise $1 million? And we were key, I'll say he, and then we were, as a group, were able to answer that question. After leaving MSUB, Don went on to coach at Wyoming, Colorado, Missouri, and now serves as associate head coach at K-State. So he's made a wonderful career progression. And speaking of Kansas State, former Iowa State University Director of Athletics Max Urich went from Iowa State while I was there after leaving MSUB the first time, went to K-State as athletic director. But before Max left Iowa State, he taught me a lot of things. He would come into my sport management classes and love to talk to the students for 3 hours. And he had a bullseye. He brought in a bullseye. And I've made one. In fact, I wanted to bring it tonight, but it wouldn't fit into my suitcase. It's a couple inches too wide, but there's a yellow jacket in the middle. Picture this bullseye, the center of which is represented by the student athlete. On my bullseye, I have a warrior, but I actually put a yellow jacket on to bring tonight, and then it wouldn't fit. So there's that. Outside the center of the bullseye, all those other rings, is a lot of what I call noise. Some of which is very important, some of which is fairly important, and some of which is not really important at all. Some of those rings are faculty, staff, administrators, conference, NCAA, media, boosters, fans, parents, sponsors, something related to the program. But Don is one of the best at being able to always focus on the center of the bullseye, the student athlete. And I'm thrilled that the young women you've heard talk tonight have testified to that. Don's all about the student athlete and helping them strive to be excellent. I remember when we joined the Heartland Conference, and we were in the Heartland Conference for 2 years between the Pac West and the Great Northwest, and we had a grass field out at what I call the College of Technology. I guess it has a new name now, but a grass field. And our first game was going to be against Dallas Baptist. On October 5th, 2002, 2000, something like that. I remember the October 5th part. We had a 10-inch snowstorm of very, very wet snow. And we get the community to come out and help us shovel, because you can't plow a grass field, you tear it up. 10 inches of snow. And we got it done. And we started the game an hour late, but we got it done. And there was a photograph in the Dallas Morning News about Dallas Baptist University playing this game up in Montana. They shovel the field, and I'm there. I always wear a tie, so I'm there rolling giant snowballs across the field with a shirt and tie. My son is kind of helping me do it. And Don's off in the background texting on his phone. In the photograph. He's probably recruiting. I have the picture in my office. Well, actually, I cleaned out my office, but I have the picture in my office to this day. It's fantastic. So we're here tonight to honor Don Trenham by inducting him into the Montana State University Billings Hall of Fame and Distinction because of all of his years of successfully focusing on the student athlete and the team collectively. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you someone who truly deserves this amazing honor, Coach Don Trentham, and I don't know if I mentioned this, maybe I did, but Don was a graduate assistant at East Stroudsburg University, where I'm retiring from today, so I'm going to give him my warrior pin as an ESU alum. And my president and also the CEO of our foundation wanted me to send their best to you, and they're proud of you as an ESU alum. So tonight, Hall of Famer Don Trentham.
Thank you, Dr. Gray, for the kind words and giving me the opportunity to become a head coach at such a young age. You played a big role in my career, and I'm forever grateful to you. I appreciate you making the trip out here. Thank you. Also, congrats on officially being retired. Go enjoy yourself. You've earned it. think I told Jen we made more than 16,000. I probably left that part out when I convinced her to come with me. But we love Montana. We love Billings. We love MSUB, this athletic department. It's very dear to our heart. There's not a day that goes by that we don't talk about Montana. Landon, if you can get off your phone and maybe watch me for a minute, that'd be great. Landon was born here in Billings. We are, yeah, my kids don't listen to me. I'm blessed, honored, humbled to be here, inducted into the Hall of Fame, to be amongst so many talented and great people. Coach Karst, I do want to congratulate you. You played a big role as a young coach. I oftentimes go into to Coach Karst's office and chat with him. So I do want to congratulate you and thank you for all the advice you gave me on early in my career. Coach Stephen, always great to see you. Keep up the hard work with the program. I know you work tirelessly as well, and it's always fun to see the successes that you have in that program. 20 years ago, I was finishing up grad school at East Stroudsburg University, and I had three things on my mind at that time. One was to graduate. Thank you, Jen, for all the help with that. Two was to get a head coaching job, and then three was to convince Jen to come with me wherever I went. I remember my first trip to Montana. It was in April of '02. I stayed at the Dude Rancher Lodge. Is that place still down there? Went to a softball ceremony. It was snowing in April. Gary told me that we had 10 players on the roster at that time, and I knew I wanted the job right there and then. The potential that this place had was awesome. Thankfully, Dr. Gray called me and offered me $16,000 in benefits. I don't know how good a school East Stroudsburg is. They didn't tell me, they didn't teach me the business part of negotiating a salary. And I took the job right away, and one of my biggest recruiting, I feel I'm a very good recruiter, but my biggest recruiting job there was to convince Jen to follow me out to Billings, Montana, where she had never been. And she agreed to come visit unseen. I remember how proud I was to bring her here. We drove 3 days across the country to get here. We roll up through the refinery, up 27th Street past the Montana Women's Prison. I think she started questioning big time who the hell she was with. It got better that fall. As Dr. Gray said, I hired her as my assistant for $1,000. Big spenders. We went 2-14. We lost 2 games in a weekend, 10-0 to Seattle University and 8-0 to Simon Fraser. As some of the players talked about, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. We were in Canada. Players didn't even have passports. I don't think we snuck players, and they'll tell you we snuck players across a border back to America. We hit traffic in Seattle because my players were driving. Jen was driving, all of them too slow. But at that point, Jen had major questions. Dr. Gray started to have questions, and I know her parents started to have big questions. But I knew that we still had potential here. I knew we could do it. I could go through a ton of stories. The next 8 years were full of so many memories, ups, downs, all around. But ultimately, we got this going. There's a lot of players back there and here that helped get this program going. I was blessed with a great village around me. You don't have success without great people around you. I had great assistants. I had great support from the administration. Jen stuck with me. I don't know why. My family, my friends. I want to acknowledge the Elliots back there, Brozovic, Steve Baum, the McDonald family. They were so helpful with this program. But most of all the special players that I had an opportunity to work with. I love you guys. I love you guys like my daughters, and you guys were special, and I was blessed to be around you. I'll never forget that feeling. You talk about being crammed in and watching the selection show, and when we got in, and the craziness that ensued. You talked, Jen, about how I didn't celebrate too much. I was so happy for everyone that put so much effort into this program. All those people, the players, the boosters, the administration. Jen was 7 months pregnant with Landon at the time, so I think I was maybe worried people were going to bump into her and things like that. But I just knew so many people had sacrificed so hard for this program. A lot of those players in the back room, they grinded for this program. Jocelyn, Jen, Courtney, Janae, all of you. And it was a feeling that I'll never forget because of how hard all of you worked to do that. The second thing I'll never forget was winning that first round game against Cal State LA at SPU in the rain. I will say this, Dr. Gray, I've never told you this story, but he came down to the field with 48 seconds left. We were up 1-0, and we were getting shelled there the last 10 minutes. And he put his hand on my shoulder. You remember that? And you're like, congratulations. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing, man? There's 48 seconds left in the game. And but we did win. And the other thing that I'll never forget is the night at Buca de Beppo that night when we won that game and we partied so hard in that place. Not non-alcoholic, but we did have a good time. Dr. Gray, Krista, the team, it's one of my favorite memories to this day. Lots of great memories. I could go on and on. But before I get off the stage, I want to say thank you to a lot of people. Dr. Gray, again, Krista, we started around the same day. Was blessed to be around you and work with you through the years. Matt Brozovic, where are you, Matt? Yeah, man, I love you, man. You are awesome. He put up with a lot of late night conversations with me and talked me off the ledge many times. All my former players, friends of the program, my dad for coming up today, my mom, Charlie, for supporting me to pursue my coaching dream and helping me through those $15,000, $16,000 days. Landon, Addie, I know it's not the best to always be a coach's kid and you don't see your dad as much as you want to, but I want you to know that you guys are my world and I love you guys. Most of all, Jen, you're my head coach. I love you so much and appreciate you more than I know. I'm not up here without you in my life, so thank you for everything. Thank you for listening tonight and allowing me to be here. It's a night I'll never forget, and I'm humbled to be a member of the Yellowjacket Hall of Fame with so many great people. And again, I'm so proud to be in here with Jen and Jaucelyn, to be here the same night. And I had written the same thing, Jaucelyn. Go Yellowjacket. Thank you.
I'm not convinced Landon knows he's at a banquet even at this point. He doesn't even hear me, nor does he want to. Coach Trenham, that was entertaining. The good news is, in fact, it's great news. He'll actually be doing stand-up after the banquet down by the fireplace in the main lobby, if you want some more. What I would like to see, and I noticed that the players talked about some of the conditioning that they were forced to do under him, and with good reason, but I didn't hear any of the conditioning stories from Coach Trenham just now. What I would like to see, though, is our next Hall of Fame inductee have a standoff with him. And as he's watching his players condition like this, right? I would love to see if Robert Peterson could wear him down. Because my bet is yes. All right, Robert Peterson is our next inductee, and if you looked at his bio in the program, you know how much work he has done. Dave Kopic, his former coach, is here to induct him. Robert Peterson, Dave Kopic.
$16,000? My first year they paid me $1. And then it was maybe 3 years later, HR said, you have a guy over there in the athletic department we don't know about? And they said, we have to pay him more than $1. But I had a full-time job, just full disclosure. So I'm up here to introduce Robert Peterson, track and field, indoor track, outdoor track, cross country. So we have 3 separate sports. They have 3 separate championships, 3 conference championships, a regional championship in there. I'm gonna start my watch. I'm mercifully gonna only go 4 minutes and 7 seconds. That's Robert's PR in the mile. So I better do this fast, or it'll be like my mile time, which is a lot slower. There's a lot of information there on Robert's stats in the program, and I won't go through all those or the stories or anything. I have a lot of stories, and he does, me too, unfortunately. But I want to talk about 2 things that I'm most proud of being Robert's coach. And the first thing is what Robert brought to the program as being a national qualifier, competing in the national championships 4 times. The first time was in 2014 in cross country, and we were lucky to get the host the NCAA West Regional. We had about 30 schools here, and we put in a bid with the NCAA. We got it. We got 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, or it's coming up. So we got it for a lot of years, and the cool thing was that we actually had a runner that advanced out of that meet to the national championships, and that was our first one we went to in Louisville, Kentucky, in a huge flood. After that, he made the NCAA indoor in the mile. And if you've seen our indoor track facility, it's great. It's just a beautiful facility. Unfortunately, we had to shovel it, shovel the snow off there every year. Which is incredible that a guy could make the national championships, without a facility and having to run through the conditions that he did. And then he made it the next year as well in indoor mile. Finally, his senior year, he qualified in the steeplechase, which was my event in college, but I would have been about maybe a lap behind him, to the national championships in steeple in 2016. So it brought a ton of recognition to MSU Billings, to the community, to our program, and it really set a new standard for our whole team. Our distance runners could look at him and go, hey, he's doing the same workouts we are. How come you're not going to nationals? Well, it's because he ran 100 miles a week. Literally, he ran 100 miles a week at times and trained hard over the summer, ran through the winter. And so, that's what I'm really proud about, what he managed to do. We're coming up on the halfway mark here. I'm still way behind, but the other thing I'm probably most proud of Robert is what he's done after college. And, of course, I'm really proud of all the things he did as an athlete, but he got a degree in chemistry, and the first thing he did was he got out to southwest Minnesota and got a job in an ethanol refinery to be near his soon-to-be wife, Amanda, who's another accomplished runner at Skyview, and she was at Augustana running and working on a nursing degree. And eventually they got back to Billings, and he got a job at the ExxonMobil refinery as a chemist, and Amanda is at the Billings Clinic as an RN. And they have crazy schedules there. Amanda, I know, she's like, we have a group that works out still, and she comes up, she's been working all night, and they're still running. And when their schedules do mesh, they manage to go out and do some really great things together. They travel around, and they go to, they've been down to the Southwest, exploring and climbing and hiking and running, and it's great to see them. There's another group of distance runners back there that we all still run together. We as in they. And they did a quick trip down to the Grand Canyon and ran the 50 miles rim to rim to rim. And I didn't burn them out, luckily, when I was coaching them, but they're working on it. But those are the things I'm most proud about. What he's done with his life and the life he's leading now with Amanda. And I feel like I coached Amanda too, because she was at some of those national championships. But it's just been great, and I'm really proud of both of them. And with that, I'd like to introduce our next inductee, Robert Peterson.
Good evening. I'm truly honored to be accepting this award and blessed to be surrounded by so many amazing people, friends, and family. My journey at MSUB was one of the fondest memories I had. The experience I had was ever engraved in my soul and molded the man who I am today. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Behind all the success, though, was many struggles and difficulties. I started my first year coming into the season not in the best shape, typical freshman. After the first week of practice, we had a time trial so you could be on the Alaska team. I went out hard, and I died harder. Unfortunately, I didn't make the team. Wanting to prove that I could still be part of the team, I took my training in overdrive and ran more miles and ran faster. All the while, I could feel my fitness increasing. But then I had a small twinge in my shin. A small twinge slowly turned to pain, and I ignored it, thinking it was just a stress fracture. Or thinking it was a shin splints. But later on, we went to a meet in Spokane, and I ended up dropping out of the race because I was in so much pain. Later on, I did find out it was a stress fracture. After I got off the field, I remember being so embarrassed and trying to hobble away from the girls' team while they were cheering on the guys. At that moment, my friends and family, my teammates, they came together and ultimately gave me hope and started going again. Also, kudos to Tom for helping me recover too. The next year, with the efforts of everyone on the team, I was able to be part of a team that took third at the conference. Still our highest placing team in the GNAC. A year later, I won my first GNAC title. A little story with that later on with Dave Truly. The following year after that, things were much more difficult. I entered upper division chemistry courses that were much more challenging and lost 6 teammates due to graduation or leaving for other reasons. All of a sudden, I didn't have the support of many teammates that I relied on so much. It definitely was hard mentally. Luckily, around this time, I met a very special person. 4 years later, I ended up marrying her. along with Amanda and her family. I would go on to win 3 more D-neck titles and a few more American honors. So on a lighter note, I like to tell a story of Dave because that always makes me happy. So going back to the indoor mile conference that week was on my 21st birthday. And so there was no way in chance on paper that I should have won this race. And so as a joke, I went up to Dave and I was like, hey Dave, if I won this race, you got a shotgun of beer with me at the gas station. He didn't. He didn't want to lose his job.
Thank you.
But it was just stuff like that we just always had little bets. There was another bet where I bet him if I went to the Nationals, he would have to grow his beard and he looked like ZZ Top, so that was pretty awesome. But anywho, this award is more than just a accomplishment as an individual. It's a testament to what can be accomplished when you have the support of your friends, family, coaches, and teammates. Thank you.
That is a bad dude. Anybody wants to race him, good luck. Coach, you want to try to condition him to the point where he tips over? Good luck. He's like, Landon, he's tuning me out, see? He's just like his son. Congratulations again, Robert. Well done and very well deserved. Tonight's next inductee, terrific basketball coach, record setter, record-setting players, fun basketball, style of basketball to watch. It was either shoot the 3 from half court or dunk it, but nothing in between. And I love that. He was great because when we needed an interview, he was always there. One question, we'd ask him one question. He'd go for 14, 15 minutes. The bad news is, this is his acceptance speech tonight. Coach Craig Karst, congratulations, and to introduce you as one of his former players, Ty Elkin.
Breen's already got it wrong. I didn't play for Coach Breen. If anybody's got a face for radio, it's you, big fella. I'm going to set my watch for 16:50, Coach. That should get us through it. But real seriously, when did assistant coaches start getting paid at MSUB? That's one of my questions. When I was there, I got a 2-cylinder Corsica and Perkins gift certificates for being assistant coach. Yeah. Well, let's see. Bob, Jaucelyn, Jennifer, Kayleen, and Don, congratulations to each of you on your well-deserved honor. Coach Carse, frankly, I hope I don't have to wait until I'm your age to receive my MSUB Hall of Fame call. And I check my voicemail often. You know, I spent 2 of the most treasured years of my life with Coach Carse. And if I get emotional, it's because I'm a new grandpa and my estrogen's spiking, so deal with it, right? While I recognize that Coach is going into the MSUB Hall of Fame for a much greater body of work than the 2 years that I'm going to share with you, I hope my experiences with him will help to define Coach Craig Karst in a way that I know would be far more important to him today than the records you might read in the history books. So my first year with Coach Karst began in the spring of 1995 of my senior year. As the captain of a team that just finished 5-21 and last place in the conference, I was his obvious choice for his assistant coach. Having been hired late in the spring, recruiting players to add to what was the remaining of our 5-21 team was a challenge. So we were stuck with working with the returners that consisted of Brent Montague, Jamie Stevens, Mark Hamilton, Eddie Cochran. We were able to add Reese Glico, who had been labeled as a me first, slow foot shooting guard transfer from Rocky Mountain College. We added Matt Cruiser, a pretty boy, highly distracted Dawson Community College transfer, in addition to a small handful of other late additions. I remember as we watched some scrimmage for the first time, I looked at Coach and said, oh my goodness, I really question if we could exceed the 5 wins of the years before. But that's not what Coach Carse saw. From day one, he believed in them far more than they had ever believed in themselves. Everything Coach did that year had a purpose of teaching them the values of discipline, loyalty, confidence, trust, and a realization that you can push your mind and body farther than you ever thought you could. Under Coach's leadership, that year we were 21-5. We beat Oregon State at Oregon State. We won the conference championship and qualified for the NCAA West Regional Tournament. But most importantly, because of what we learned about ourselves and about each other, that group shares a bond that is one of the greatest treasures of my life. Fast forward 22 years to 2018. Tate, bear with me, I promise. It's out of love. My son Tate had gotten cut from the basketball team at West High his junior year. Quite honestly, I think he was a bit lost. As he tried to fill the void that the absence of sports had left in his life. Tate had been a follower most of his life, not built up the confidence in himself that was necessary to be a good leader. Coach Carson moved back to Billings that year after retiring from coaching in Texas, and he agreed to coach and teach at Billings Christian School. He invited Tate to join him at Billings Christian School for his senior year, and eventually started asking for my help with some of the preseason workouts until, once again, I was his assistant coach. In the year prior to Coach's arrival at BCS, they won very few games. Average margin of defeat was over 30 points. Frankly, my expectations of Tate's senior year would be that he would have fun playing basketball again and have a good experience meeting some new friends at Billings Christian School. But Tate and I got much more from that year with Coach Carse. Coach believed in Tate in a way nobody else ever had. He built his confidence and self-esteem up through hours of time in the gym, but more importantly, while in his office. Talking about life, family, God, and anything but basketball. He demanded discipline, effort, commitment, and accountability from him. He taught him how to lead, and eventually Tate began demanding that from his teammates. He taught him how to pray, how to tuck in his shirt, how to get to work on time, and how to give 100% in everything you do. And for that 1 year, Tate was his very best self. We ended up with a 24-3 record and won the Christian School National Championship in Ohio. But that year was about so much more than basketball for me. There will be a day that Tate will draw on all that he learned about himself during that year he spent with Coach Carse. And I am so thankful that I got to have a seat beside Coach to share in the experience. Coach, my only regret in our relationship together is that I did not get the chance to play for you. But I'm grateful to have been your assistant and, more importantly, your friend, and I'm so proud to welcome you to the MSU Billings Hall of Fame.
Wrong zipper. going to deviate a little bit off of this. When I was at MSU Billings, when I came to MSU Billings, naturally, my Heavenly Father, my God, my Creator was always part of my life. Jesus was always my Lord and Savior. So naturally, I believed in God. Went to church, went to Sunday school, had my Bible things. But until I was fired from MSU Billings, lived off and on in hotels, dorm properties, as I commuted for basically 9 years to Texas. My wife made me promise the day that I told her I was coming here that we'd never leave. It was not until I was at Hardin-Simmons University that Paul's words, as he was in prison, and he wrote to the Church of Philippi in Philippians, and such a common scripture, and I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, Philippians 4:13, were kind of my go-to. There was actually times I thought, man, I can score 33 threes a game. We can score 100 points a game. Kind of like when I heard Tim Tebow talk, it was kind of like, boy, I can get 7 touchdowns. Well, naturally with Paul in prison, that's not what he was talking about. He was talking about, as he showed his appreciation to the people in the Church of Philippi, that he could get through things through Christ's strength. At Hardin-Simmons, I was able to take 2 years to clear my bitterness, and the greatest thing that ever happened to me was being fired at MSU Billings, because I learned that it wasn't enough to believe in God. I needed to believe God. And all my life, the way my parents had raised me, the 5th commandment of honoring your parents, that's why God put that there. He couldn't raise us, or parents on earth raised us. I was too busy not believing God. So, with that said, after 9 heart procedures and 3 strokes, and retiring in 2017, came back home and was able to live here, and will stay here till the day I die. So, with that said, I want to thank all those that have put so much time and effort into organizing this ceremony. It's been such a nice event, recognizing so many wonderful accomplishments. It's been a long evening. We've been asked to limit our comments. I don't think Scott Breen's probably talked to me about 15, 16 years, so he doesn't know me real well. I will keep my words brief. Now I know that Pat Hughes and Brian Cook don't believe that. But we have a game tomorrow and practice early tomorrow morning before we have our game. I've always been grateful to have had the opportunity to work with Montana State University Billings, Chancellor Hickswaw, Athletic Director Bazemore, Hall of Fame nominators and Hall of Fame committee members. It's always a good feeling when a person is recognized by other people. It's very humbling. I thank you. I had my first coaching opportunity in 1972. Now, 50 years later, I'm still coaching. It's the only career position I ever desired. I've been blessed to be inducted into multiple halls of fame and distinguished graduate programs. All those honors have one thing in common. It means you were surrounded by good people. Montana State University Billings is not an exception. I'm so thankful to the many supporters of our program, people who were kind, generous, loyal. I will not mention names in order to avoid leaving someone out, because there were many. I'm thankful to our medical community. They're always available. Dr. Jim. Thankful to our administration, always with an open door. Thankful to our quality faculty, always taking extra time to spend with our students. Thankful to the institution's tireless working staffs. No matter the needs, they always helped. In athletics, people like Denise Winya, the behind-the-scenes people, the unsung heroes. To the fellow coaches, always extending a hand and having time to visit. Kevin Wooden, got me through a tough time in my life. Thank you. To the parents of our players, always ready to help. Thankful to the assistants that worked above and beyond the call. They wore many hats and without questions. But most of all, thankful and most appreciative of the players. Talented, hardworking, focused, and dedicated individuals. You may notice I've not mentioned players or assistant names. I've learned from experience. After working and making life in an environment for many years, as soon as you mention names, you're bound to leave someone out. The many people part of this period of my life are too important to accidentally forget one. I am forever appreciative of all of them, so many. I will mention my first recruit. He can represent all the players, Reese Glico of Belt, Montana. And my first assistant, he can represent the many assistants. You've already heard from him, Ty Elkin from Red Lodge, Montana. A lot of people don't know this, but the leading scorer in the history of Montana high school basketball is Reese Glico. And the second leading scorer in the history of Montana high school basketball is Ty Elkin. I'd like to remember two men no longer with us that loved Eastern, MSUB. They always had time for the school, for the teams, for the coaches. And that would be Mr. Bruce Hagenson and Dr. Ron Reitz. I would like to express my appreciation to Ty and his family. They've always just been a phone call away. And to Eddie Cochran, a loyal friend, since Ty and Eddie were part of my first team induction meeting in April of '95. Ty was seated at my left shoulder and Eddie across the table. We've never lost touch. Most importantly to Leslie, she's lived over 44 years of the highs and lows of being a coach's wife. Only she knows what's been sacrificed to mentor, direct, parent, and coach hundreds of young people. We've been so blessed. God's protected us and guided our path with such compassion. To David and Lindsay, in hindsight, I would have done things differently. You persevered, you endured, and you're better for it. Thank you. I don't write many speeches. It takes me 10 minutes. I told Krista to say hello. And finally, I thank everyone that's touched this institution, and in particular our program. In closing, yes, Pat and Brian, under 10 minutes. I would ask my current team to stand when I introduce them. These are members of the Billings Christian Warriors. First, my assistant coach, Dustin Grivo. You can just wave, Dustin. I know you don't want to stand up. And then our players. First, Kate Alsop. If you guys would stand up. Stay up. Kate, I said stand up. Kate started at 2 guard last week. He's 4'10", about 83 pounds, but he's tough. 8th grade. Ethan Alsop, his brother, stand up. Thank you. Thank you. Ethan's an 18-year-old senior captain. Sam Balkin, Samir Balkin, stand up. Sophomore. Gage Grivo, junior. Bob Godican, some people call him Otta, junior, 2-time All-American. Boaz McKinney, freshman. Preston Kaiser, senior, being recruited by several people. And Mason Greer, another senior. We only have 8. Last year, every year we've always had 13 or 14. Last year we were 6'9", 300, 6'8", 230, 6'8", 6'6". Got 4 guys this year that went on to college. Last night, our photos were due yesterday for our state championship program here in a couple weeks. And they called us last night at 11:30. We'd gone to see the Jackets play. And I got a call that said, "We need your team picture." And I said, "I think we sent it this week," because we'd only taken one. And they said, no, you guys sent us your JV picture. So we'll see what we can do about that, won't we, guys? In 2017, you can sit. In 2017, after a 40-year college coaching career, I retired. One season later, I prayed endlessly for direction. One evening, Eddie Cochran called and said, BCS. He told me about their basketball. I asked, do they have a gym? That's all I needed. Do I kind of look like Joe Biden up here? It's front distemper lobe. Poor guy. I have been fortunate to work for BCS the last 4 seasons. These young men compete in what's called the MCAA, the Montana Christian Athletic Association, and the NCSAA, which is the National Christian School Athletic Association. They have not lost in 3 regular seasons and have lost to 1 team in 4. They have captured multiple state championships, won the NCAA National Championship in Ohio. My associate that year was Ty. Our leading scorer was Ty and Heather's son, Tate. They will return to Ohio March 3rd to 5th to compete in the NCSA National Championship. This is a 14-school league made up from Billings to Kalispell, so we have a little bit of trips when we travel. The NCSA is made up of hundreds of teams across the United States and Canada. The teams we played 2 years ago, there were 2 players that decided not to go to college and went straight to the NBA, so there are players. I am so grateful to these guys, so excited for tomorrow, and I'm really happy to be their coach. And yes, they run the same style and system we played at MSUB, played at West Virginia, played in Texas. Actually, when my former players from West Virginia or HSU or MSUB ever come to help any practices or camps, they always say, Coach, these are the same drills we did. Recently, Coach Cochran was working with this team and echoed these thoughts. Same drills, same system. I thought, am I missing something? I am out of date with much. I looked at the guys and I asked myself, should we change? Should I change? A system that has won conference championships and has played in national championship tournaments at every stop and every level. A system that scored over 100 points nearly 140 times at MSUB. They thought we shot threes here, 28 threes in a game in Texas. A national championship game at West Virginia, 4 guys in the NBA off that team. A system with a record of 142 wins. It's not published anywhere in your stats. A system that had 142 wins with 10 losses in the first 11 years at home at MSUB. I kind of thought about it, smiled, and then said, nah, I think I'll keep it. This has been a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Congratulations again, Coach. Well deserved. Was I lying? And he knows we have spoken. He's called about his Warrior team, justifiably so, and asked the media for coverage, and we've delivered. So, again, congratulations, Coach. All right, here we go with our final inductee of the night, and she must be kind of a big deal because she has not 1, but 2 presenters tonight. Her high school coach and her college coach, Kevin Wooden, and first, Bill Lepley from Shepherd. Kayleen Goggins.
Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Bill Lepley, and I was Kayleen's high school basketball coach. What a great honor it is for me to be here, to be asked to introduce Kayleen to the MSUB Hall of Fame, and a very well-deserved and earned honor for Kayleen. If I had to describe Kayleen in one word, it would be a competitor. She had the determination and the work ethic that made her a great competitor. This is what made Kayleen one of the best players I have coached. I have the opportunity to coach many great players in my 36 years as a coach. But Kayleen was the one that had that extra drive and determination that a coach cannot teach. This is what made a good ball player into a special player that Kayleen became. She brought all her skills, her hard work, her determination, and her love for the game to the court every game. I'm fortunate in that I have not only been Kayleen's coach, but I've known her and been a part of her life since she was very young. Kayleen and her sister Abby are best friends to our daughters, Taylor and Mackenzie, which means they spend a lot of time in our house or at Joe and Linda's. The 4 girls always include little Spencer, who was quite a bit younger, in their skits, dressing him up in tutus, lipstick, nails. Hopefully they didn't scar him too much. Girls played ball from a very young age. First with Linda and my wife in 3rd and 4th grade Y-ball, and then on to travel team ball that I helped coach. They were also my ball girls for high school games, so they spent a lot of time in the gym. Kayleen's work ethic came from her family, but especially from her grandfather, Pat. Pat had a saying, "You got to have some want to." She sure had a lot of that. We used that often. We even had a sign hung in the locker room that said this. I can still hear Pat's booming voice coming from the stands, encouraging Kayleen and the team. Also a few choice words, mainly to the referees that I won't repeat. The whole family, which took up close to one side of the bleachers at each game, was a great support for Kayleen. And it made my job awful easy. Pretty hard to let down a family of that size. Every year during our first week of practice, we'd put garbage cans on the 4 corners of the court for the girls to use when they'd get sick. I'm not sure if I told Becky or not, but we were going to run Hellenbacks, that's what we call lines or suicides, until we got Kayleen to puke. We had to run practice about a half hour longer that day. But I knew then Kayleen was going to take this team and put it on her shoulders, and that she did. Her senior year and at the state tournament, she was amazing. And she rewrote our record book at the end of her career at Shepherd. MSUB was a great fit for Kayleen, and she was able to step right in her first year and follow her cousin's footsteps. It was great to see that she had her whole family in the stands again to watch all her games. I am proud to call her nearly my daughter, and her family our family. After 36 years of coaching, I am proud to say I coach Kayleen. Thank you, and congratulations to you, Kayleen. What a great honor and achievement. Thank you.
It's been a long evening, but a great evening so far, and I have a lot to say about a special player of mine, so please bear with me. I'd like to congratulate the other inductees tonight. All of them are just gave their heart and souls to MSU Billings. Congratulations to Jocelyn and Jennifer. Women's soccer was definitely presented well tonight. I got the opportunity to work with Don when he was young. I was old then, so, and I'm still around, but I knew just when I watched Don, his intensity, he had intensity in the hallways. And I just knew that he was going to do special things, and he did. I enjoyed when he would stop by and talk as well. Robert, to me, since I've been there, would be the male goat of athletics. What he did was amazing. He did it in a quiet way, but he just achieved it at such a high level in so many sports. We have a lot in common, him and I. We're both runners. I learned tonight that he had a 4:07 time. That's what I do daily on my stationary bike per mile. So, I want him to keep going. Coach Carse is an important person in my life. When I got the job, he gave me lots of advice. I watched a lot of his practices. He did things a different way, but he did it very well, and I appreciated all of the guidance that he gave me early in my career. Thanks to everyone who put on this major event tonight from MSUB staff. They did a great job. I'd like to thank my current players, staff, friends, family, Scott, and just everybody that's in attendance tonight. It's great to see so many familiar faces, both past and present. What a great turnout to honor these MSUB greats. Kayleen, thanks for asking me to co-introduce you tonight. Coach Lepp did a great job. I am truly honored as well. I'm not surprised by the large number of family, friends, and teammates you have here tonight to spend with you. Please know that you are and always will be Gogs to me. Part of that is I've only known 3 Kayleens in my life. One was the girl down the road I had a crush on when I was really young. The second one was my oldest daughter, and then Kayleen Goggins. Early in Kayleen's career, she would get texts at different times of the night. It would say things like, "Where are you? Why aren't you home yet? Who are you out with tonight?" And my oldest daughter was the type that you got a house alarm to make sure that she would stay home and things. So I had to change my phone texting. It's always been K-Gogs. Gogs came from the great town of Shepherd, Montana. I think I started recruiting Kayleen when she was about 10 years old. Her cousins Becky and Mandy played at MSUB, Mandy for me. She sat on our bench early in my career. She went to camps. She was always around the gym. She and her family gave great support from whether it be her parents, her brothers, her sisters, her cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents, etc. They were amazing people, and they attended all of her games regularly. I must admit she had me worried in the fall of her senior year in high school when she and her dad officially visited MSUB for the day, and I thought it was going to be a done deal. But she didn't accept my offer right away, and it really stressed me out for a few weeks. Later, she told me she was coming to MSUB and she knew all along. I still blame her dad for that. Gogs represented the type of player I wanted. She had a great work ethic. She was loyal, humble, and very team-oriented. I contacted a few of her former teammates and special people and asked them what they thought of Gogs. First, this is from your cousin Becky, who coaches with you at Shepherd. Becky played at a game tonight at Joliet. Hope it went well. This is, I quote, "Some of my fondest memories of Kayleen go back to when I was in high school and college, and she was our ball girl. We would spend time working on her shot after the games. Kayleen, you were and still are a hero to my girls, and I was one of your biggest fans. We now spend our days on the bench coaching together, and you truly are one of the blessings in my life. You were the best player to ever come out of Shepherd High School. You could be counted on in big game situations. You were versatile and dominated inside and out. The best words I could use to describe you would be workhorse. You would grind and sweat, and wow, could you sweat, until the job was accomplished. You're such a kind person and one of my greatest friends." This is from a teammate, Alicia Breen. "During my first open gym my freshman year, I tried posting up on the block and got an abrupt awakening to what college basketball was going to be like as Kayleen shoved me clear out of the key from behind. Gogs was someone I immediately looked up to for how hard she played, the time she put in away from practice, and her leadership. She took me under her wing, helping me through my freshman year, showing me what it truly meant to be a Yellowjacket women's basketball player and what her expectation was for the program. I saw the matchup nightmare she created for opposing teams, being able to post, shoot the three, or drive it down your throat. Looking back at the 2 years I played with her and the many memories we made both on and off the court, I'm thankful I had the opportunity to play with someone who greatly impacted our program. I'm lucky to call you a lifetime friend, and every once in a while, I love it when we still lace up our shoes for an occasional City League game, and as a mom of two, you can still kill it. Congrats." Next, from Quinn Peoples Carter. Kayleen Schultz is the truest definition of a leader. Her achievements on the floor are just a small part of the basketball player Kayleen was. She was a fierce competitor and a most humble player. She comes from a family of hard work and dedication, and Kayleen brought those values each day to her Yellowjacket team. She was the best teammate, and I am blessed she is my teammate for life. And finally, from point guard Bobby Knudsen, who wanted to be here tonight, but is actually flying to Hawaii today for her brother's wedding. Gogs, it was my absolute honor to play with you. You were my offensive go-to post and the person I could lean on the most. Your positive, energetic attitude is what set you apart, and I learned from you as much as you learned from me. No words will express how grateful I am for the time and sacrifice you gave our team. I am proud of you, my friend. Knowing your character the way I do, there are even greater things in life to come for you. Statistically, Kayleen Goggins Schultz stats were very impressive, as you can read. Almost 1,500 points, over 500 made field goals, almost 600 rebounds. Game plays 118, which ranks fourth, 116 starts. I guess that would probably be my fault if I didn't start her a couple times, sorry. First team GNAC, MSUB, Female Athlete of the Year, averaged over 20 points her senior year, all conference honors 2 other years, and a 3 times academic all conference player and graduated as well. She won a lot of games while at MSUB. She played in 3 GNAC tournaments, won a conference championship, and was on a Sweet 16 regional runner-up. When I think of Gogs, I have many memories myself. Here are a few. She played so hard and was a clutch player. I watched her dive head first at half court for a loose ball at SPU, hitting her face on the floor and breaking her nose. What post player does that? She did. I remember buzzer beater shots at Western Oregon on GNAC TV Game of the Week when I danced around like an idiot. It was her call on that play. She ad-libbed and did the right thing without coaching. I remember you coming to me in the regional championship with about 3 minutes left in California and telling me you couldn't breathe. And I said, I'm not sure what to tell you, but you aren't coming off. I suggest maybe just walk it off. I remember all of your family at our games, especially your grandparents. I remember after a big win one time talking with Grandpa Pat, and he just said, Coach, they're looking pretty good. I think you need to run them more, though. I may have once said this, that you and Quinn resided in a soft house, but please know I didn't really mean it. Gogs, I love it when you and many of your fellow alums come back and play in our alumni game and talk to my current players. It really means a lot, and I sure hope you keep doing that. I remember finding out your lovely father, Joe, was on the phone with his travel agent, arranging a flight home from California during our first quarter of our regional playoff game when we were down 15-3. Well, despite Joe's positive visualization, our team regrouped and won that game, and the next one too, and played for the regional championship. To this day, that was the best team I've ever coached. You and your teammates overcame so much. 2 starter ACLs, family difficulties, etc., but just kept winning despite adversity. I will say, Joe offered to buy ice cream after the famous comeback win that day. And my response to Applebee's was, that just isn't enough. He got the whole bill. I remember Bobby and you being tour guides in my band. I think you referred to yourself as Carol and Cheryl. Wow, that was sure a treat to listen to. I remember you and Quinn's damn selfies and Quinn's stupid selfie stick. I remember finding out that you got a boyfriend from Kansas just in time for your senior season with me. And he was going to move out here and get a job, and I was thinking, wow, that's great.
I thought the same thing.
Sorry it was a bit hard on you, Corey, early, but you did grow on me, and you're a wonderful guy. I'm so happy that for you and Kayleen and your 2 beautiful daughters, you have a great, great family. More recently, I enjoy our times together when I get to hang with your girls or to see you coaching the next generation. Keep up the great work. Girls need to be coached by more women role models these days, and especially by people like you, Becky, and Alicia. Gogs, in conclusion, I'm very happy for you to receive this honor tonight. You were such a great player and an even better person. Thanks for your friendship and all you gave me on and off the court. Congratulations on your selection into the MSUB Hall of Fame. Jackets for life. Bill?
Oh, there he is. Those lady jackets, by the way, sweeping Anchorage yesterday. First First off tonight, I'd like to congratulate all the other Jackets who are inducted. I'm honored to be a part of this group with you. I would like to take this time to extend a proper thank you to everyone who has impacted me in some way or another throughout my basketball journey, touch on the importance of tradition, and highlight a few important memories and relationships this game has given me. My love for basketball started at a really young age, but it probably grew when I was in about 5th grade, playing on the Little Phillies travel team for Kevin Murray and Robert McSwain. Thank you, Kevin, for being here tonight. It's parents like them that make a difference, stepping up and putting in time for little girls like me. This was just the start, and I couldn't wait to become a Philly, wear the cool white snap-off sweats, and warm up to the old school hits of the pep band. My dad and mom have been my biggest fans from the beginning. Basketball was always a common ground for my dad and I. My favorite moments with you, Dad, have been in the gym. There's nothing more that I enjoy than talking strategy and sometimes reliving the glory days. Dad, I'll forever have an image of you rebounding for me in your sweet Hawaiian shirts. He's not a t-shirt guy, so he had to wear his lightweight Hawaiian shirts to the gym. To this day, I think of you every time I drive down Airport Hill. I think of our daily phone calls discussing how practice went that day and predictions of how the upcoming weekend of games would go. Thank you for always going the extra mile to make it to my games. You're the best. Mom, you are the real hero. All the practices, camps, and games you drove me to, always with a smile on your face. I honestly can't recall a time you weren't encouraging or didn't find something positive after a game to say, even if it was, well, your hair looked the cutest. I get a giggle sometimes thinking about you guarding me with a broomstick while working on post moves in the shop. I still don't know how tiny you made me, but I'm thankful. I have to thank my siblings for instilling a competitive spirit in me in a young age. I would strive to beat my big brother Greg in games of around the world in one-on-one. He never took it easy on me, and I know why, because there was no way in heck I was going to let my little sister Abby win. My senior year of high school basketball was one of my favorites. Our only few moments on the floor together ended with a sweet pick and roll and an assist from my baby sister. That's what it's all about. Tradition. Certain rituals and events that unify us and bring back memories of the past. Tradition keeps us connected. Now, as a coach, it's my duty to make sure tradition remains, but also allow new memories to be built for the present. Tradition is the foundation of our families and society. Without it, our identity is lost. I was lucky enough to play for 2 programs without a doubt exemplify tradition. Thank you, Let, for introducing me tonight. You've played such a huge role in my life as a coach, mentor, and second dad. You were and are Shepherd Basketball. Thank you for all the Sundays you let me tag along with you and your family to the gym, all the time you put in during the summer, and for helping me choose my path beyond high school. I'm still not over that Fairfield game my senior year. You also gave me the gift of my 2 best friends and greatest teammates in Taylor and Kinsey. I'm so proud to have played for one of Montana's greatest high school Hall of Fame coaches. Thank you. And thank you, Taylor and Kinsey Spence, for being here tonight. The summer Taylor and I attended MBC camp was one of my favorites. We learned about faith, we were inspired, and pushed to a different level athletically and mentally. It was pretty cool to share that with my best friend. Another big thank you tonight goes to Kevin Wooden. I'm honored that you also introduced me. He is also the most winning coach in MSUB history. Thank you, Kevin, for recruiting me to MSUB. I often wonder how different my life would be had I not chosen to become a Jacket. I was downstairs in my parents' house when I called you on my flip phone the day before the first practice of my senior year started and verbally committed. Instantly, a weight was lifted off my shoulders. However, what I didn't know that some of my greatest years of my life were ahead of me. It was my time at MSUB that really shaped me into the person I am. Coach Wooden doesn't get enough credit for recruiting not only high-quality players, but high-quality people. How cool is it that I get to say I got to play with some of MSUB's greatest? Bobby Knudsen, Quinn Peoples, Chelsea Banis, Annie Depute, Janelle Olsen, Alicia Green, and Austin Hanser, just to name a few. Kevin also has a 97% graduation rate for all of his seniors. Not sure who messed that up, but... I am normally not one to toot my own horn, but would like to recognize our three-peat alumni game win streak we had. Sorry, Kevin, you did recruit us after all. 2 assistant coaches that couldn't be here tonight, but I'd like to recognize and thank are Nate Harris and Jenny Herringer. I may be biased, but MSUB had the best sports staff. Thank you, Krista, Evan, Mike, Lindsay, and Tom, and the rest of the staff for all you do behind the scenes, especially for tonight. Lindsay and Tom got me in the best shape of my life the summer before my junior year, putting Kinsey and I through the ringer every day. Lindsay, thank you for all the pre-game calf massages. I really could use them now in my late 20s. My junior year at MSUB was the most pivotal for me on and off the court. I don't think many people will ever understand the pain, hardship, and adversity we faced as a team that year. We won the conference, beat Anchorage at home, and made it to the Sweet 16, losing Brandy's dad the summer before it began, Janelle and Annie both tearing their ACLs, and losing Quinn's sister during our Sweet 16 run made it for a tough year on and off the court. Oh, I can't see, hold on. It was in that year we learned that yes, basketball is just a game, but it's also so much more. Our team sat in a circle in California in the hotel room that Quinn and I shared, holding hands on a bed praying. It was a powerful moment that changed my life forever. An unspeakable sisterhood was formed that season, and I'm forever thankful for that group of ladies. Quinn, thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm not certain what I'd do without you. Pre-game jimmies, Applebee's wraps, and meeting at the gym early to rebound for each other are just a few traditions that come to mind. Thank you for pushing me in the summers. I know I was making daily phone calls to both Bobby and Quinn to see how much they shot, lifted, or ran, so I could be sure to try to do a little bit more. I could still hear you calling for the double on the backside or telling me which way to go when I posted back to the basket. You're a huge factor in my success. Thank you. Next, I want to talk about relationships and how basketball always seems to be a common denominator for many of them in my life. After MSUB, I didn't stay out of the game long. I immediately started coaching 7th grade girls in Shepherd and eventually moved up to coach high school JV with my cousin Becky. It's pretty special to coach alongside your cousin, one of my best friends, and someone I've always looked up to from the time I was a little girl watching her play at MSUB. It's been fun to help Becky carry on the traditions of LEP and the traditions we both learned from our time at MSUB for the girls we coach now. The towel lives on, and so does Bump and Gun. Becky, thank you for inspiring me to play at MSUB. I wanted to follow in my big cousin's footsteps. From her to Brian, Joe, and Mandy, I had to join the club. And thank you now for allowing me to coach and learn under you. You always have been one of my biggest role models in how you coach and parent. Thank you. I was extremely fortunate to play 20 minutes from my hometown. When I chose MSUB, I'm not sure I recognized how important and special that would be to have all 4 of my grandparents attend every home game. I know Grandpa Pat and Grandpa Ben are smiling down from heaven today. I'm lucky enough to have both my Grandma Babe and Grandma Daisy here tonight. Thank you both for supporting my basketball career and everything else beyond. There's no way I can get up and speak here tonight without my tribe. This award isn't just for me, it's for everyone who has supported, helped, and been there for me along the way. To my aunts, uncles, cousins, the Leveleys, the Kadings, you are my family as well. Thank you to all of you. It was rare that one of your faces wasn't in the crowd, and it's such an honor to have you all here tonight. Hank, I wasn't going to say this because my speech was taking a serious turn, but I have to thank you on behalf of the underage Lady Jackets for hosting us in the off-season at the Wigwam. Corey, I know in my heart without you, I would not be standing up here. I met Corey in June of 2014, the summer before my senior year. We started our first date in Altworths with a game of one-on-one. We met up about every 2 to 3 weeks that summer, each time spending hours in the gym. I knew after our game in Kansas in your high school gym, when I beat you 32 to 30. It was game to 11, win by 2, that we had something special. Then, after a poor Big Sky State Games performance, he was a little annoyed with me, and I knew from that moment he was going to constantly challenge me to be my best. We would break down film after each game my senior year, go to the gym on Sundays, and every day of winter break. He kicked my game up to a different level and has continued to do so ever since. I love you, and I'm so grateful you became a part of my basketball journey, and most importantly, my life journey as my husband. To my girls, Daisy and Della. Hi, girls. They're too little to probably understand this, but I'm incredibly humbled that they get to be here tonight. They inspire me endlessly. I can only dream that basketball in some way or another touches their lives in the way that it's touched mine. In closing, I'd like to leave you with this. To all the little girls out there, this is possible. You don't have to be the most athletic person in the gym. You just have to find a way to outwork them. Stay close to your tribe, live in the moment, and soak up your traditions. I encourage each and every one of you to be a person that provides somebody else a belief that they too can be great. Around MSUB, and especially the women's basketball program, you often hear the slogan, Jackets for Life. I'm so proud to be part of the Lady Yellowjacket legacy and for this induction into the MSUB Hall of Fame. Thank you, Jackets for Life.
Well, again, congratulations. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Hall of Fame inductees tonight. Again, you're one of 168 and 2 teams, so congratulations, well deserved, all 6 of you. That concludes it for tonight. We'd like to have the Hall of Fame inductees come back up for a team picture, if you will, and you've got tickets for tomorrow night's basketball action, so doubleheader. Coach Durham's guys play the late game. Coach Wooden's women play at 5:15. The inductees will be acknowledged again at halftime of the men's game. So last call at the bar, I'm told, is 10:30. Treat yourselves, mingle. Please, Hall of Fame inductees, come back up for one more picture. And bring your plaques. Thank you for coming tonight, and congratulations again.
Hey, thanks, man.
Ha ha ha!